Sure.
Yeah.
My pleasure. I'm really happy to participate. I'm a real estate broker with Sotheby's International Realty Canada, and the office is Midtown in Toronto, Yonge Davisville. I work throughout the whole city. I'm a real estate broker with the company. And of course, I'm trying to build my business. And I work actively in the center core of the city of Toronto, as all of C going up north to as far north as I'd say Thornhill, Richmond Hill, and the waterfront to the south.
There you go. Wonderful. Thank you so much. For all of you out there that, if Vivien has assisted you in getting you a little bit knowledge or getting you some knowledge in regards to internet leads, it'd be wonderful if you guys have referrals over to her in that area. She's the most wonderful agent and the most kindest person that I've met in the downtown core. I don't go to downtown a lot. I'm a very Oakville kind of guy. I've lived there for a while. I like the quietness. I'm not a very big in the city. In fact, when I go to Toronto, I take Uber. I don't even want to drive there.
I totally understand that. So where I live and work is in the Yorkville area.
Okay.
The main Sotheby's office is Midtown. The subway right to Davisville, right there, is the Sotheby's Toronto office. I have my own office in Yorkville, and you know what? Everything is walking distance. A lot of my clients love that. And
That's wonderful.
With people who have homes and want to downsize and sell and move to the city.
Yeah.
Depending on what agent stage they're at, and the young buyers thinking of doing the reverse. They have a small condo in the city. They're having their first, or renting. They're wanting to buy their first condo or their first detached, or if they can go that route,
right.
Might have to go to the townhouse first.
They have a procedure, you have a step. You know what, and it's generally like that now. You can't have a young family start with a detached property. You have to start with a condo and possibly townhouse and go from there.
Absolutely, that's exactly. So I really experienced the whole gamut because I've been through the whole scenario as well, from the renting to the first townhome I bought, growing the family, second larger home in North York.
Right.
Where I grew up, then another larger home, and some 10 plus years ago, selling the large family home in the Bayview Corridor Steeles area and going straight into Yorkville to buy a resale condo that we renovated and love it because we're in the middle of the universe here in the city.
Absolutely. Definitely. So what we're doing today is Vivien was kind enough to share her experience with internet leads in general, and Vivien came on board with us several months ago to start with internet lead generation, and we'd love for you to share a little bit about. So we'll have some questions for you that we ask, and also from the audience out there that's watching us live. I am watching all the comments, so if you guys have a question you want to ask Vivien, please go ahead and do so. Just put it in your chat or your comments, and I will ask Vivien that question. So I'll start off with asking, you got on board with us. Do you remember approximately which month you got on board?
Yes, about August of last year.
August of last year, okay. And the internet leads that we generate for you are, what area do we work for you?
So we decided that we would focus on Midtown.
Okay.
Again, the Central Toronto corridor. The most are the Annex, Rosedale, Bay Bloor corridor, Yonge, St. Clair,
yep.
Yonge Eglinton, up to North York, Yonge Finch, Yonge Sheppard. I would say that's where most of them are coming from. Yep.
So what we did for Vivien is we did a campaign that's sort of like a community-based campaign. So it's not general Toronto campaign where we're getting leads all over Toronto. We do have the ability to create these general community-based campaigns. What we find usually is that the cost per lead in these very centered or community-based campaigns is generally a little bit more. But that's still quite worked out quite well for us. So since August of last year, I see that we've generated about 169 leads. So that's the total number of leads we've got. Did you know that by any chance, or you didn't really look at your counts altogether?
No, I didn't realize it was that many, but that's really nice.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to validate that just now. It is, in fact, and I remember I logged in a bit earlier and I looked at it. 167 leads in total. So a little bit less than what I said. So now, out of these 167 leads that we got in total, Tell us a little bit about the deals that you've done. So you've done a few deals already?
Yes. Quite early on, the end of 2017 and early 2017, I closed 3 deals. Two of them were high-end deals, which was just amazing. When I say high-end deals in the city in Toronto, it means 2 million plus. And that came from people I didn't know. One was a couple who have a large home in Young Eglinton, did not have obviously real estate agent or weren't working with anyone. They were checking around on the internet and they found me through Googling and however you did your setup with me. So I met with them. They listed their home with me, and that's Young Eglinton. It went for over 2 million in the late fall, right before Christmas, actually. And then I bought with them a Yorkville condo because they,
Wonderful.
I guess, felt I've been there and done that. They felt comfortable and I know the process of that
Yep.
market. And I found for them like blocks from where I live and work
Oh, wow.
in the $2 million range.
Wonderful.
And that was a buy, sell or sell buy with one client. And then one was a visiting family from the Philippines with a son at U of T, first year student looking to buy something. They also own property in BC. And
Okay.
they were looking to buy, not rent, for their son during medical school. So they found me. We went for coffee. I followed up. Within the week, they bought with me a $1 million condo in Yorkville.
That's wonderful. That's amazing to hear. So now, just so you guys out there know, we've gone through 167 leads
Yes.
to get to really 2 clients that we've had. So 3 deals, but 2 clients. So when we look at the average conversion rate so far, we're in that range that the average happens. So that's something that everybody should be aware of. We shouldn't be aware of thinking that we're going to get 20 leads and we're going to do 5 deals out of that. That does not happen with internet leads. So now, do you have some solid leads as well that are kind of looking that you've met with as well from the 167 that you got?
Yes, I have met with one young couple with a baby, not ready yet. I think
Okay.
some are long term.
Yep.
You have to realize you're cultivating. I actually met 2 young couples with young children, come to think of it, in the past 2 months, and they're not ready yet. So I have to make it my business to keep in touch with these people for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're not ready, maybe this year, maybe next year, they don't have the down payment together yet. So I don't know what'll happen, but it's certainly, you have to constantly be vigilant with your connections on Agent Locator. And every day I check them and I see what's going on. I would say beyond those 2 visits, I have 2 very solid high-end leads.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody from Newfoundland or out east anyway, who wants to buy because his family lives here. Again, a couple, and they're looking for a 1.5 condo in the Yorkville area. And I'm in constant email contact, phone contact with him, and I see what he's looking at. That's the beauty of Agent Locator. You're like a spy. You can see exactly how many times they're looking for a property that you set them up on with their criteria.
Right.
And it's a beautiful thing. So I have one couple that are looking to buy, and I think they said in May they'll be in Toronto. So I always say, I'll meet you for coffee. Let's discuss what you're looking for. Like, just break the ice here.
Yeah.
And I have my favorite little Yorkville area coffee place, and that's great. Then I have somebody else very seriously in the $2 million range. It's not all the high end. I want you to know, and your people who are listening to know, there's some looking for first time 400 plus thousand. I mean, a condo at the 400 to 500. Yeah. I'd help them too, but they're sort of not so decisive as the higher end people who really I seem to work well with.
Yeah, and then you have a certain way of dealing with them, and then they appreciate that, and I think that carries on to the kind of people that you're working with. So and so we've got, when we look at 3 deals out of 167, that's a 1.7% conversion rate. Generally, from a conversion rate perspective, we're hitting about 1.5 to 2% within the first 12 months of being on a program in a general sense. And then what is your follow-up like? So when you get an internet lead, what do you do? What's the process like?
I got one, for example, today,
Mhm.
and it comes up on my two ways. It comes up on my email, comes up on my phone. So I right away, within 20 minutes, half hour, depending, as fast as I can, I look up where are they coming from, and I open up my CRM and I see right away what they're looking at and where. The beauty again of your system is you have a map, and I know where they're situated, where they live or where they're visiting, and where they found me. And this morning it was some island off Portugal. Okay, you've got people, a good number of them. I don't know how bona fide and real they are because they're coming from all over the world.
Mhm.
And as I said, I had this family from Philippines and they were really bona fide. But most of them I find from all over the world are really not. I can't
Right.
tentatively, the phone numbers, you can't phone
Yep.
them. So it's really how serious I. So I have set them up today
Mhm.
on a buyer lead campaign. This family from Portugal, who I don't know, an island off, and they're looking for something in the $500,000-600,000 townhome in the Weston, like not my specific area, but
Right.
I don't mind. I'll set them up. I go into the system through Trev, but you're linked to Trev, the Toronto Real
Yep.
Estate Board, and I know exactly what their price point. I can't talk to them in Portugal, so I
Of
figure
course.
what location, what price point, what type of home they're looking for, a townhome. I set them up and they're going to get the buyer, and I'll see, and I write them an email every week or two. How's it going? Because I can't talk to them.
Right. Do you by any chance use SMS at all, or do you don't use the SMS functionality?
I don't.
Okay.
I didn't. I find I have enough going on. I'm fine.
Okay. One thing that I want to make a note of is we do have the ability to restrict people from the outside of Canada to actually look at your website. So if you wanted us to do that, we can most certainly do that and say, we don't want anybody who is outside of Canada to ever see our ads, so that we're not even targeting those. What does happen is, and what we do is those that are, let's say, in Dubai or Portugal or in some of these cities who are larger cities, we do allow them to see your ad if they're looking for a home in that area. So if they live in Dubai and are looking for a home in Toronto, we will show your ad. However, so if you don't want those, because obviously we can't actually call them when we can't communicate, we could, but it's just much harder. We can actually make those disappear so they don't even come in at all. So if you wanted to do that, you can shoot an email to Sunny. And Sunny wanted me to say hi to you.
Okay.
You can shoot him an email. He can make that adjustment for you whenever you want.
Okay, I can talk to him if he feels and you feel there's a benefit to that, or just keep it open. I'm not sure what is the right.
We've seen the conversions happen throughout. Like even some agents say, don't send me leads from 3 a.m. or let's say even from 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. because they can't handle them. However, we've seen a lot of leads close from that time because those are people that are working a different shift, and they're online looking for properties, and sometimes people do stay up a little bit later to look for properties. So because of the fact that they can't communicate with them immediately, sometimes they tell us not to have them come in. But it's kind of one of those things. It's a double-edged sword. Do you or do you not? And it's completely up to the agent. But we do have the ability to also limit the time to say, I don't want our ads showing while I don't want to communicate with people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will have that conversation with him. But this happened in the middle of the night. In the morning, I right away set the person up. So
yep.
If they're interested or they're not, then they'll wait.
Maybe. So if it is a local phone number, do you call the phone number all the time?
All the time.
Okay.
All the time. That's the first recourse, and it's either a real number or fake number.
Yep.
And right away, I will make a note. I'll go into the notes and the call section.
Perfect.
And right away say it's fake, it's not the right number, and it'll right away show red, that the phone goes red and
Perfect.
It's legitimate. But then I see the email is working.
Yeah.
So the email is the second best way.
We've certainly had agents convert leads off of email. We've had it doesn't happen where, don't waste a lot of your time where you're going to sit there and write them personal letters where trying to get their attention. The only thing we want to do is set them up on listings, have them get those listings because they're there for them, and then if they do respond back to those emails, wonderful. If they don't, it is what it is. It's one of those things. But if we only have an email that's good, then that's generally the process that we take.
Yeah.
So that is, those are all wonderful ways that you're communicating. When you do call them, what's your conversation like? What's your approach with them like? Do you have like open conversation as you do with a friend? Do you have a script that you use? How do you go about that?
I don't script it. I just say, hi, how are you? I see that you are interested in real estate. Tell me how I can be of help. What are you looking for? And then
Hmm.
they'll say, blah, blah, I'm looking for this, that. And I said, well, it's really great because I think you fell upon my real estate website and I'm really happy to send you listings that are of interest to you. And then again, you have to ask some questions. What are you looking for and when and what kind of price
Yeah.
point? And do you live in Toronto? I can see where they're coming from because of the map.
Yeah.
When I see that they live in the Toronto and GTA, even London I have and Niagara Falls, I phone them. It's
Yeah.
not far. I mean,
Or
and I have
even,
conversations with them.
yeah, and even if it's out of Ottawa, for example, and you see they're looking Toronto, that might be a relocation. That might be that they're moving from BC to here or from Ottawa to here for work or for it maybe. So you can use that towards your advantage in your conversation because it makes you look great. That I see that you're from BC. Are you looking to relocate here? Is that, is it for a job? Is it for whatever it may be? So that's,
Exactly.
yeah, that's sometimes something you can use. But generally, what we like to hear is that you have just a straight conversation with them as best you can. And it's just we're there not to push them. We're there just to help them out and find out because we have to understand where they're coming from as well. They've left their information online and now they have somebody contacting them. But honestly, what we're trying to do is just assist them through that process, not be pushy. What we want to do is try to figure out what their motivation is and what their timeline is. And based on those two things that we figure out, we know how to push from there. We know what questions to ask and stuff like that. Um,
Yes.
so that's great. I mean, honestly, it's a general process. The leads are pretty much the same all around. What we do find in the Toronto area, though, as opposed to let's say the outskirts of Toronto, we find we generally have more fake leads and fake phone numbers in the Toronto area. Do you by any chance know the average percent of fakes that you get? Or let me actually see if I can see it
That's a
here.
good question. I would say 50, 60% at least.
50, 60% in your case at least would be fake. Let me see if I can actually do let's say phone validity is set to invalid. And out of the 167, you currently have 23 where you've set the phone validity to invalid.
Right.
So from a percentage basis on your end, and you do set it to fake when it is fake, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
And
perfect.
the out of town, all the out of town people, like really overseas, it won't show up accurately there because I never called them.
Correct, correct. So that's a good point. So then we can try to gauge how many of them are actually from out of town, but from a fake percentage, we're at 13.7%, where it has a fake phone number. What we find on an average basis in Toronto, about 25 to 30% are completely fake, where we have both, phone number and email fake in the downtown, in the Toronto area, let's say. And I truthfully don't know why that is. I mean, we've tried to gauge and try to understand. We've tried to even get people to enter proper numbers by having the forms revalidate. Um, and what we've seen is somebody who wants to give a fake phone number, no matter what we do, they're going to leave a fake phone number. So it's more of one of those things we consider as a part of doing business. We're just not going to concentrate on the ones that are bad. We're going to concentrate on the ones that are good and move from that perspective. So those are typical numbers from that perspective. So we do, whenever you do decide whether you want to continue on getting some of these leads that are from out of town, you can let us know for sure, and then we can make that adjustment. And we can in fact see, from those leads that have been good for you so far, we can find out where they've been from and kind of gauge your result off of that to say, you know what, I'm going to stick to this, or I'm going to have it open up because I've got a lead from an out of town. If I didn't have it on, I would have never got that deal.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So honestly, I mean, I've asked pretty much all the questions that I wanted to ask in a general process of what it's like, just to find out from you if anybody out there has questions. And I generally ask all the questions that other people ask as well. So we haven't had any questions come up. But if you guys do have any questions, we're going to be on for another few minutes, and we can have them answered. What would your advice be to somebody who's just getting into internet leads for the very first time? Is there any advice that you can give them?
Well, what I found I had to do when I joined Agent Locator, talking about this specifically. There was a learning curve.
Mhm.
There's no question. And I spent probably the best part of a lot of August learning. I signed on in August. And by the end of August, I took the webinars with your staff. I phoned many times to your staff, and I needed to understand how this works.
Yep.
And I made it my business for the first month to not waste time or money and to figure out what I need to do to run the basics. I'm not saying I know anything complicated. I just know when they come in, you follow it up, you set them up on a buyer or automatic. If you speak to them on the phone, you're not going to set them up on a buyer's campaign that's very impersonal. I set them up on an automatic where they're just getting listed.
Just listings.
Them,
Yeah.
right? You know what they're looking for, and that's what you want.
You made my day by saying that, because the fact that you've actually taken the time and done exactly what we want you to do, really learn the system. Because you could, if you've talked to a lead and you set them up on a buyer lead campaign and the system sends them an email saying, hey there, John, just wanted to see if you're looking for a home. I haven't been able to reach you, and you've had a conversation with them, it makes you look so bad.
That's right.
So you took your time, and I'm so glad that you've taken your time to learn that, because if you hadn't learned that, and a lot of times we have to have those emails in the buyer lead campaign because we want to try to engage these people when they're not responding to us. But when they have responded to us, when we have a communication with them, then we obviously don't have to do that. So that's the fact you've learned that's wonderful. So thank you for learning that.
Welcome. I used that tool, and I was in touch with your staff, with Ria, in fact, to ask when the buyer campaign of 21 or 3 days ends.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to end, and I don't remember all the time. The filtering process I'm not that great at. That's the one thing. That's fine. So Ria went in and she made all the buyers after the 23 or 4 days when it stops
mm-hmm.
to continue.
Perfect.
And I would recommend, if people don't want to be so busy with it, that you do that too. So it continues on after the buyer campaign ends. So I would say, if anyone's seriously interested in getting involved at a higher level, just to learn it first, not that difficult. And you have to do this homework every day to go in, to check and make a list. I have a notebook with all the top 5 people I have to keep tracking. And I do that.
And that's the follow-up process, and that's the general, that comes with the skills of what you have as a salesperson, what you have as a person that's been in real estate for some time, and you utilize those skills, because that's just like if you have a regular client, you want to communicate with them something that's appropriate to them. Have you used video at all in your communication, or not yet?
Not with these particular people, but I have a lot of videos that I do on social media, mm-hmm. engaging, and yes, I use video a lot in my business. I really do, and it's important.
Yeah, one of the ways that I've seen some agents use video really well is to those people that let's say that you've communicated with, but you actually haven't hooked them on yet. You haven't showed them your value yet. What I've seen agents do is they open up one of the listings that they've looked at. You can see how many times they looked at it. And one listing that they looked at multiple times, they record their screen where they open that listing up and point out things that they might not notice. So for example, point out saying that, hey, John, just wanted to let you know, I noticed that you looked at this property 3 times. If you're truly interested in this, I want you to know that this property is overvalued by X amount because of this, this, and this. I just thought I'd share that with you, and that's something you should know. If you have any questions for me, let me know. And then they end that video and then shoot it off. So it's really easy. There's a program called Screencast-O-Matic that allows you to do that really easily. BombBomb also has this. BombBomb will allow you to actually put these videos together really quick and shoot it off to your clients. So those are some ways that you can engage some of these guys. Let's say you've got a lead in there that's looking at high value properties and they haven't been responding back, and you look at a way, how can I get these guys to engage back with me? Well, that's one way. And what we're looking at there is we want to offer them something that they truly wouldn't be able to get themselves. One example, another really great example that I looked at is the client looked at the kitchen, because the kitchen, the way that it was designed, it was like underneath these bulkheads or whatever it was called, and they knew that because they were in the construction industry. And he sent them that video saying that, hey, they just wanted to let you know this kitchen that you're looking at here isn't new. It looks like it's been done a while back. Even though it looks newer, they probably redid it. And this is because the kitchen is beneath these bulkheads. Usually these days they put them up above. And he sent that video off to a lead that hadn't responded back. And the lead responds back within 5 minutes of watching that, saying, thank you so much for your advice. And in fact, you know what? I got to take a screenshot of this and show the text message that they sent back. They actually asked for a meeting, and he says, I can't believe that you noticed that just from a picture. I can imagine what we're missing or what we don't see if we're not actually with you. So yeah, that he created that value that made them think that we can't do this without him. And that's
you're commenting about taking this to the next level.
Yeah.
If I don't have, and I know what you're saying about Screen-O-Matic, I don't have it, and BombBomb. I do little videos. If I know their cell number, which is what most people give you, if they're accurate and they're serious, it'll be the right cell number.
Right.
And I can, on my iPhone, do a little thing and send it to their iPhone too, which
It's
is less complicated, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's something I didn't think of. I would send them an email and say, oh, or phone them. Oh, I see you're looking at this and that. I don't want to seem too much like a spy though, but
yeah.
but you end up seeing things and it's really helpful.
Yeah, and it's sometimes it's one of the things. Do I tell them? Do I not tell them? But it's completely up to the agent whether I honestly I like to share. I like to they should know, because then you're saying that's only available so that I can actually gauge and find out properly what you're really like, so I know exactly what to get you. So yeah, from that perspective, that makes a lot of sense. And sometimes when you involve video a little bit more, especially to those leads that makes sense, it definitely does help, and it can up your conversion rate. From that 1.7% to, you can double the number of transactions, really, because you can go up to 3.5%, 4% possibly, from just changing a little bit the game that you're doing and what you're doing. So yeah.
That's great. So I would say in summary that it's been really a great, I would say it's lead generation, this whole system you have set up and I'm doing. It's passive though. It's not going out and knocking doors, but it's all passive lead generation, and it's there for you, but you have to do the work.
Right.
And I put it on my schedule. I don't think there's not one day during the week that I don't look at it and interact with people, because I don't get new leads every day, but I check the hotter leads all the time and see what they're looking at, because I see on my email daily who's looking at what. So I know who are the hot leads that I'm following.
Right. How much time would you say you spend on a daily basis on our system?
20 minutes, half hour.
Half hour, 20 minutes.
Not every day. So it could be longer when I'm responding to a
lot.
I'll do it all in one go, not every day. But
I
would say I'm involved Monday through Friday, sometimes weekends, on a daily, regular basis, because I see them popping up and I have to do something.
Of course. Wonderful. Wonderful. Vivien, thank you so much. I truly want to thank you for coming on and sharing. I mean, obviously, you guys don't have to do this, and it helps us as a company to share the word out and spread the word out. And so thank you from the bottom of my heart and from everybody in my company. Thank you so much. And we're going to end the webinar. There are no more questions, and any other questions that actually came on, I'll answer for them. There's a question about part of the system, how it works, so I'll answer that question for them. But Gail is online saying this was great, so thank you so much. Thank you all. Vivien, we appreciate everything. If you have any questions for me, please, you know where to find me. Send me an email and we'll go from there.
Terrific. Thank you.
All right. You're very welcome. All right. Bye, everybody.